When it comes to global corruption indicators, South Africa continues to languish in the red, according to NGO Corruption Watch, as local efforts to drive out rampant graft and improve our world ranking have only really stagnated in more recent years. Enter lifestyle audits for public office bearers. They're supposed to reveal any inconsistencies between what a state official earns and their actual standard of living. Is it above their means? But based on what members of Parliament heard this week, the general progress of these audits has been anything but smooth. Our Parley correspondent Gerber has more.
And we know that the issue is not that there isn't laws or the systems aren't in place. The issue is the people in the system. We've seen it. That's what's coming out at the Mtlanga Commission and at our committee at the moment. It's basically we have crooks in the public service and in the police as well, which is really concerning. So these lifestyle audits are a way to first of all identify the people who are busy with something dodgy, and also if it becomes like a standard, people will think twice before they do something stupid because they know they're going to get caught.
Later in our training topic, the notorious Saxonwold Shebeen is back up for grabs. That's really if you're into marble elephants, that is. And finally, for the very first time ever, Wits University honoured a black woman with an honorary degree in 1987 on this day in South African history.
New episodes of The Lead air Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m.
In Roby's Pointless Braai Quiz, what's the name of the big traditional high school sporting event happening in Josie this long Easter weekend? I'll give you that answer at the end of the show.
This is The Lead, and this is the South African story with your host, Graham Robenheimer.
Moving to our top story today, our senior parliamentary correspondent Gerber joins me now in our Cape Town Foreshore studios to gauge the progress of our government's lifestyle audits thus far. How's it? I understand you just came out of the post-cabinet media briefing. Nothing much to report, right?
No, there's been a lot of talk about the fuel, but I don't want to fuel speculation, so...
Yeah, there's not much else to say. These things, they tend to be like a bit, damp squibs.
Yes, and this issue of the police commissioner, being charged or going to be charged.
Oh, yeah, remember that?
Yes, and, the president will make an announcement on that soon. Who cares?
Yeah, jeez, just really important things, right?
Yeah.
Okay, look, so this week Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Public Service and Administration heard from 5 provinces on the progress of audits for senior public office bearers here. Now, this has been mandatory in more recent years. The President's reporting in the State of the Nation address from earlier this year that last year, apparently we got a 93% compliance across the board in terms of public office bearers' lifestyle audits. And so I guess that 7%, Jan, is really what is an ongoing concern, is it not?
Yes, but also I'm not so sure that the issue is there's a lot of it's not uniform. One province does this, another province does that, and like a lot of provinces only have declarations where the people declare themselves, and they can't look into what the guy's wife is earning, or they can't take a broader view on do a proper lifestyle audit. It's just declarations. So I think that's the issue. That that committee also had a meeting last week with the SAU, and what stands out there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, not only in terms of getting lifestyle audits done, but creating a legislative framework for these lifestyle audits. I think the priority should be the supply chain management or the procurement areas. That should be the areas in government departments and provincial departments, etc., where the focus is, because that's, I think, where a lot of the corruption happens. Like we've seen just last week with those police officers who standing trial with Kat Matlala. They were in a bid adjudication committee, in a supply chain process. So those are the guys we need to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, for people who don't understand, a lifestyle audit in its very simple terms is meant to reveal any discrepancies between how much money your pay slip says you receive every month as Jan or Graham at Media 24, and how much extra money you might be getting, and what your current standard of living really is. So if you're living in a mansion and you are a junior reporter for Media 24, I mean, the bosses are going to go, waar kry jy die geld? And I think that's basically, in a nutshell, a very simple form of lifestyle audits, and they're supposed to reveal if you're living beyond your means.
Yes, that's exactly that's the point. Like, the question is, are you living within your means? And if not, why not? They could be, like, say, you're like a low-level government employee, but you drive a Porsche. That raises a question. How did you afford it? There might be a plausible explanation that you inherited it or got money from your uncle or whatever. So it's not like always necessarily that there's something dodgy going on, but there often is, we know that. And the idea is also to look beyond just yourself, but also at your wife and your spouse and your children. Because we know, like, a lot of, how can I put it, dodgy dealings happen through children. There's a certain deputy president whose sons get lots of money, live in a mansion in Constantia. He doesn't own it, but his sons does. And, some questions has been asked, but yeah. So that's it's a more realistic look, and not just like, this is your payslip, this is your holdings, etc. It's a broader look.
Yeah, I think that's so important to point out. And listen, lead listeners, if you've only tuned in this far at episode 208 into the lead on News 24, you can go to our past editions with investigative journalist Carl Cohen, and he'll tell you a lot more about Deputy President Paul Mashatile, the Constantia Mansion, and what his various sons have been up to in more recent years. But back down to this, I mean, the Public Administration Department is a very critical department in actual fact. And it previously indicated towards the end of 2025, Jan, it was struggling to, get enough proper investigators, a pool of, good enough investigators to be able to, as you've already alluded to, have this blanket audit of all the critical departments, of all the critical, provincial administrations across the board. And soon it revealed that it couldn't muster that, and quickly looked to the SIU, right?
Yes, so a lot of departments and provinces contract the SIU, or they get a secondment order. That's actually something that the SIU needs to deal with, because it limits their powers. They can't go on full SIU. They have to act like departmental officials, if I simplify it probably a bit too much. But yeah, also those type of investigators, or government is competing with the private sector to get these auditors, etc. in. But again, it's not just a matter of getting the amount of auditors or investigators into the posts. It's also the legislative framework.
Right. Can we hone in on the provinces? I thought some of the findings here of what MPs heard this week is illuminating and interesting, and I think everybody should understand, because it actually gives us an opportunity to look past, individual headlines, and to look at things a little bit more broadly and go, look what our public office bearers are up to. Look where our taxes are going. Yeah. Okay, let's start with KwaZulu-Natal. What did MPs hear from the Premier's office there?
Basically, they get a high compliance rate with declarations, but they need to look broader. They want to do proper lifestyle audits. The declarations aren't a good indicator. You can, it's easy to like I said earlier, they need to have a holistic look at your wife and your children, etc.
But they didn't really get into the nitty-gritties or the deep findings. But Gauteng did, and Premier Panyaza Lesufi was there with his various administrative officials. And I thought this was very illuminating about supply chain management and the junior officials there. What did they find?
So did you say one of the observations they have from the lifestyle audits that they have done, and they really focused on the procurement, and 3,600 officials in their procurement.
Jeez, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. Yeah. So what they found is that there's a lot of people who spend a lot of money on gambling. And that's obviously, like low-level SEM, the supply chain management officials. There's two possible problems. Like, first of all, if you gamble a lot, you can end up in
a severe debt cycle.
Yes, and then it's easy for somebody to make you an offer you can't refuse. The other thing is, you can also claim that you've won a lot of money, and that's how your bank statement looks very healthy. Well, in fact, you didn't win that money from gambling. You won it from
taking awful life risks.
Yes, like a different kind of gambling. It's concerning. Also, like if you like in supply chain management, I would want people who are
financially savvy.
Yes, and I'm not sure gambling is a good indicator of financial savvy. Yeah, that's a bit concerning. I mean, but and also like gambling is part of a wider issue. I mean, like there's all this online gambling. It's a bit of a free for all, and the advertising is quite hectic. So
it's very ubiquitous these days.
Yeah,
Northern Cape. This was also very interesting.
The DG said, SIU is involved. They are looking at proper lifestyle audits. They're finding that officials are resisting, and they've even to the point of sending lawyers letters saying like we're not going to comply. And again, it raises the question: why wouldn't? I mean, I understand it's an invasive process, but if you are working, your salary is public money. You need to be accountable to the public, and why would you? What are you trying to hide here? So that's concerning.
The Northern Cape's oftentimes like a forgotten province.
Yes, yes, and I mean it's a big province, but it's not very sparsely populated. So it's not. I'm not sure, but I'm thinking it's not the biggest administration in terms of the amount of people involved, the amount of money involved. So, but still.
And yet, at the same time, Dr. Zamani Saws, the Premier, has gotten a lot of praise in the past for running a more quote unquote like cleaner administration. That's the idea that I've gotten.
I mean, I got the impression from the way he spoke and the way his DG spoke that they are like very serious about dealing with it and implementing these lifestyle audits. I mean, I keep coming back to legislative amendments that is needed, to ensure that people can't find ways to wiggle out. I think that is the big challenge at the moment. First of all, give the SIU the powers necessary, to give departments the powers necessary, and then close the gaps for people to sneak out.
Yeah. In other words, like a blanket proclamation would be very helpful.
Yes, that's what the SIU asked for. I think it would be better to have it legislated. And also like one of the provinces, the Northwest, the official, I can't recall his name now, He proposed that government should really look at having an agency specifically focused on doing lifestyle audits across the public service.
Sure.
Which I think makes sense. But again, like the issue, and almost everybody raised it, is the cost, because it's apparently it's expensive.
But one province that found that it can save money is right here in the Western Cape.
Yes, as is often the case, the Western Cape did things a bit differently. Premier Alan Windey said they didn't go to the SIU. They got in an independent audit firm from a different province. It turned out that the company who won the tender was from a different province. So, and they conducted full lifestyle audits for himself and the MECs, and it worked out at around like 50,000 rand per person, which seems like from the way the other premiers, they didn't put numbers to the SIU, but it seemed to be, that the Western Cape is getting it for a bit less money.
Obviously, there's a couple of outstanding provinces that didn't get to come to before Parliament went to recess. Was there any word from committee chairperson, I think it's a DA MP, as to when those outstanding provinces will come?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Got the impression that the chair, Jan de Villiers from the DA, is quite interested in this topic. And that it's something that the committee will pursue.
It's not a topic that shoots the lights out, but it's so critically important to everything that we understand and rooting out corruption. I mean, we're 42 out of 100 on the global index for corruption. That being 100 being clean, a 0 being really terrible.
Yeah.
So, we've stagnated in recent years. Our efforts to try and root out corruption need to be sped up at this point.
Yes.
If we take our findings and recommendations from both the Madlanga Commission and as well as the Zondo Commission.
Yeah. And we know that the issue is not that there isn't laws or that the systems aren't in place. The issue is the people in the system. We've seen it. That's what's coming out at the Madlanga Commission and the ad hoc committee at the moment. It's not that. It's basically we have crooks in the public service and in the police as well, which is really concerning. So these lifestyle audits are a way to, like, first of all, identify the people who are busy with something dodgy, and also if it becomes like a standard, people will think twice before they do something stupid because they know they're going to get caught. That's the big thing, I think. And I think the main reason why we struggle with corruption is because there isn't consequences. And it's something that in AG reports year after year, that it's something that AG would raise, like no consequence management. And this lifestyle audit is it's not going to, like, if we implement it across government, everybody gets a lifestyle audit. We know exactly what's going on. That's not going to solve the problem alone, but it's one of the things that needs to be in place.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't agree more. I don't think there's anything else to say at this point. I'm sure you're a little bit relieved Parliament's on recess. Any plans for the long Easter weekend?
Just relax. Not worry about anything from the ad hoc committee.
Yeah, what is the word there?
They've got another extension. They couldn't decide how much time they need to finish their work. They are done with the hearings now, thankfully. They need to compile a report. So they've gotten until the end of April, but they're going to need some more time, definitely. I think it's going to be a long slog with deliberating about what goes into the report. And then they have to send a report to people implicated who will have, like, I think 7 days or something to respond. And then they have to consider that, and then they will have a final report to go to the National Assembly.
And if you're still wondering what Jan was just alluding to, of course, it's the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee that mirrored the Madlanga Commission's work in relation to the allegations levelled by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi regarding deep state corruption within the SAPS. Crazy scenes coming out last week, the arrest of those dozen cops. And, of course, at this point of writing, we still have a National Police Commissioner.
Yes.
In Fani Masemola, and we knew that a board of inquiry had to be set up to figure out whether or not he'll be kept on. Of course, he's due to appear in court now coming up after the Easter long weekend, where he's due to be charged in relation to his failing to act in regards to that now cancelled 360 million rand SABS Health Services tender, which has ended up being tainted, linked to the CAT. He's still our commissioner, right?
Yes. I mean, at the post-CAT briefing this morning, somebody asked the Minister Ntshavheni. She said, the president will decide soon, whatever that means. And, it's above the cabinet's pay grade. It's not entirely the case.
No.
So we're waiting. The president can't, just go off on a frolic and suspend the police commissioner. First, there need to be this panel that has to be chaired by a judge. To once they've been appointed, then he can suspend provisionally. I suppose there's other ways around it. Like there was testimony at the ad hoc committee that back when there was the charges against Baglane, the acting police commissioner, Kilian Balula, convinced him to step aside. Yeah, which he described as political interference, but that was, back in the day.
That's Jan Gerber, our senior parliamentary correspondent. Have a fantastic long Easter weekend. We'll catch you on the other side of this.
Looking for a smarter weekend scroll? The Weekender is your ultimate guide to bold stories, sharp opinion, and a fresh lens on life in Mzansi. From exclusive interviews and powerful essays to wine picks, playlists, and pop culture gems, it's your perfect weekend read all in one place, landing every Saturday on News 24. Trending topic.
Moving to our trending topic, and it's the unofficial capital of state capture, a remaining vestige of deep government corruption. It's the lavish home of those who whispered in the ears of former President Jacob Zuma. It's the Gupta compound, the so-called Saxonwold Shebeen, and it's back on the property market, complete with marble elephants, if that's your bag, a cinema and sauna. Those are just some of the features, to name a few. The Josie compound has apparently failed to secure enough interest at auction and remains under the control of a business rescue practitioner. But News 24's Ivan Pius discovered from a source that a deposit was put down for the mansion, though this prospective buyer did not follow through on guarantees. Estate agents are now circling the property again. It's rather doomed, isn't it, to gather dust, its walls still carrying untold stories of the many politicians who had frequented there. I mean, if you won the lotto, would you buy it? I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below.
And finally,
and ending off now with On This Day in South African History. It's a regular segment. It's courtesy of the SA History Online database. Well, on this very day, the 2nd of April 1987, Noseng Kozwayo became the very first black woman in our time to be awarded an honorary degree from Wits University. Hailing from an ANC-aligned family in the heart of the Free State, Kozwayo's career started in teaching until the apartheid administration forced its deplorable Bantu education on the black African majority. She then shifted her passions to social care, where she led a strong campaign to force the apartheid authorities to allow land ownership in which the private sector could assist in establishing housing in townships. This, though, soon caused her trouble, and she was detained for alleged terrorism for 5 months. Once Madiba had rose to power, Kozwayo stood as an MP in his administration for 5 years, and upon retiring in the year 1999, she penned an autobiography titled Call Me Woman. Survived by her pair of sons, she sadly died in 2006 at the age of 91. In Roby's Pointless Braai Quiz today, the question is, what's the name of the big traditional high school sporting event happening in Josie this long Easter weekend? That's the King Edward VII School Kes Easter Festival in Houghton, Johannesburg. Did you know its first rugby and hockey inter-school started in 2002? It's since grown to include up to 40 teams and nearly 1,000 competing pupils. It's become quite the formidable sporting event on the yearly calendar, with Grey College and Hoërskool Waterkloof among the invited schools. Lekker, man. Good luck to everyone taking part. Well, if this was your answer to Roby's Pointless Braai Quiz all along, well, congratulations. You scored the priceless prize of being the most informed person around the braai place. Got something to share with us? You can always drop a mail at thelead@24.com or simply leave us a comment below. With about 1.2 million listens and counting, The Lead is News 24's flagship daily podcast. Just a reminder too that each show is quality checked by a senior member and or editor of News 24, and we adhere to the basic rules set out by the Press Ombudsman as well as the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. My name's Graham Robenheimer. Have a fantastic long Easter weekend. Stay safe on the roads. Look after yourself, your friends and family. And so long as there's trusted news first, we'll have The Lead.